Hey everybody, welcome to A Stable Life. Well, looks like winter decided to finally kick in here middle of January. As you can see, it's pretty much just a mess. It's just slush. That's all it is just a mess. Because of the temperature variation going from snow to sleet and freezing rain to rain back to snow, we decided the best thing to do would be to keep the horses in last night. So we're gonna do some cleaning after we get the horses fed and turned out, and we'll just take you guys along for the ride. So here we go. Little wind damage. Door's damaged up here a bit. Something to fix from the wind. This is just not nice, to be honest with you. I mean, it's beautiful, but what a mess. It's this right here that is really a problem, because the water doesn't drain. Leia, what do you hear? I hear geese. Where are they? So here's the game plan for this morning. We're gonna get the horses fed, and then we're gonna get them out, and then we'll start worrying about cleaning the stalls. It's easier when they're not in the stalls, obviously, and they don't want to be in here any longer than they have to, so we're gonna get them fed and turned out.
Donkeys running around in the aisleway?
Nope.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and bring them down.
Okay. Go exploring if you want. Go ahead, go exploring. It's there's too much snow, slush, and ice outside, so we're just gonna let them wander around in here since we're cleaning stalls. It's like having like the daycare center just opened up and the troublemakers are in town. We got all the stalls cleaned up. Everything's all done, tidied up. The tubs are filled for manure day tomorrow. Gavin's gonna have a lot of fun. We got the water buckets emptied. Hay's all cleaned up. Outside's all cleaned up. So here's Casino's stall, nice and cleaned up, all done. Suede's stall, all cleaned up. Now just, you'll notice as we're going through, some of the stalls have sawdust in them, some of them don't. That is a preference for the owner of the horse, if they want to put bedding down or not. It doesn't make a difference as far as the horse's care, in the sense of how comfortable it makes it. The mats do just as good a job as the sawdust does. The difference being, obviously, sawdust looks a lot more cleaner inside the mats after you're done scraping them all out, but there's a lot less waste with the mats. By the end of the day today, the wet spots that you see, those will be dried up because it'll drain out. We have sand underneath the mats, and they're pitched so that the urine or the water, maybe they spilled a water bucket, that'll drain out, so the stalls will be cleaned out. These guys are all set and ready to rock and roll for the night. They're nice and right guys, you're all nice and cleaned up. Nice toys are in there. They got water. We'll get you another slice of hay because you guys are eating the hay pretty good. So that's our morning. We're all cleaned up and ready to go home and get lunch, and then we just gonna repeat this in a couple hours, come back, and tonight we're just gonna feed and turn out.
Good morning, everybody. Today's just a few days after everything that you just saw with my parents. Gotta take this down to talk a little bit. It is extremely cold. As my dad brought out, winter has certainly hit. Last night our temperature got very cold. In fact, it went down to 0 degrees. Right now the temperature's reading 1 degree. So right now what I'm doing is switching our tank heaters. This is absolutely integral when it comes to everything that happens for our water supply. Right now we have 3 full water troughs. One is 150 gallons, 2 are 100 gallons. And without those heaters, those troughs would freeze completely solid, especially with it getting this cold. There's actually steam coming off the top of the water from how cold the air is. It's me and the pup today. You excited? Let's go see what it says on the thermometer down here in the barn. Okay, so in the barn, it is actually reading -1 degrees. So, what's involved with taking care of the horses when it comes to being this cold? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm going to be happy to show you guys. Morning, boys. Now, my parents already walked you guys through a snowstorm that we had, and they were here taking care of the horses and cleaning up the barn afterwards. As you can see, the stalls have dried up. There's no ice anywhere inside the stall, anything frozen. With it being this cold, we are feeding round bales so that the horses have as much forage as needed. When it gets this cold, you have to make sure that your horses always have something going through their digestive system. If you don't give them a lot of forage to run through their digestive system, what'll happen is they'll start to lose weight very quickly, which means they can't make heat, which means that they will start to get cold, and that leads to a whole new plethora of problems. And all that's avoided by simply giving them enough to eat. So when it comes to the cold, there's really 3 things that we have to keep track of to make sure that the horses are well and healthy. And those 3 things are water, food, and shelter. Now, it might seem pretty obvious that horses need those 3 things, but I'm gonna talk about why those 3 things are so important through this video. But for now, let's get these horses in, starting with Poncho. Morning, Poncho. You ready to come on in, buddy? Make sure I don't slip on the ice here. Poncho's a good horse. You guys have seen him on the channel for a long time. And if you're a new viewer here, that's Poncho. Glad you could finally meet him. Next up, we're gonna let in our next herd. Now, I noticed that you guys have been asking for me to start going back to tell you guys the names of all the horses. Sounds great. I'm super happy to get back to it. So we're gonna let these guys in. I'm gonna tell you guys the names of all of our guys here. This guy here is Casino. But we're gonna start with the leader of this herd, which is Falcon. Then we got Champ, followed by Poe, followed by Casino. And we have Rebel, and Jack's down by the round bales still eating, so I'm probably gonna have to holler for Jack. Jack's like, why would I come in when I got food down here? All right, he'll come on up. Let's go close those doors. There we go. Last horse for that herd to get in. Get my face covered all back up because I can feel my skin getting really cold, and I got to be careful with how cold this is. If you're in cold climates like this, you really got to be mindful of how your skin is. If you live in a cold climate, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, you might be laughing at me right now. But that's fine. You guys remember how much I've been talking about how much I want winter to be here? It's here, and I'm thankful. Now, there's a lot more fashionable ways to look, but when it's this cold, no one comes down to the horse stable, so I pretty much go for function over fashion. Just in case you were wondering, you know? All our horses are in, so that takes us to our 3 steps I brought out earlier. Those are 3 things that I have to make sure the horses are getting in order for them to be healthy. So that takes us to our first, water. We have 4 areas where horses can get water at our stable. Let me show you them. Number one is our automatic water bowl. If you can see, there's steam coming up out of this. Temperature right now is 7 degrees. It's warming up to 20 degrees today. Now, the heaters that run to this stay on the entire time. That takes us to number two, which is what I call the Tucker trough. This guy holds 100 gallons of water. Currently, bucket water from Poncho's trough and the donkey's trough over here. It's about half full right now, which is good for Tucker for today. This takes us to number three, which is the Poncho trough, which, as you can see, is frozen solid. The reason why Poncho's is frozen is because Poncho's not in here during the day. Poncho's out there during the day. So he has no reason to drink out of this trough. So this trough has all day to thaw. And then when Poncho comes into this paddock at night, he's got a fresh trough of water, fully thawed and ready for him. Now the donkeys are so short, they can't reach into this trough. So we bring a bucket of water out and put it there for the donkeys to drink. And this is our third trough and our biggest trough. This trough holds over 150 gallons of water. This trough supplies water to this entire pasture. We do have areas where the horses can drink in other areas, but because of it being so cold and there being no heat to those areas, that's all frozen. So this is the area where the horses get water, and they've learned when you turn them out, they come right over and get a drink. Horses drink up to 8 gallons of water. The reason being, it's so cold, they normally get a lot of their water from eating grass. But with it being this cold, there's no grass, so they're eating hay. Now, hay is extremely important. I'll get to that. But because they're eating hay, their mouths get dry, so they naturally drink more water. You have to make sure your horses have at least an access to around 10 gallons of water if you have one horse. Otherwise, they're not getting enough water, they're not going to get enough to drink, and that can lead to serious health problems in a day or so if they're not getting enough water. So water is extremely important. Next up is food. Now, food you'd think is obvious, but there's really two ways you can make sure your horses are healthy. One is making sure they have the nutrients that they need. Different horses need different nutrients, just like different people need different vitamins. We usually will increase the amount of feed that we give them in the winter to make sure that they are not losing weight. And added to that is hay. So forage material is something that's very helpful to the horse's digestive system. Simply having hay in their bellies allows their digestive system to run. Yeah, you can almost liken it to how when it's really cold outside, you go start your car and then you let your car sit for a little bit until the engine's been running for a while and uses that power to generate heat. But it takes time for that heat to be created. Well, the horses are taking forage, burning that up, and using that to create heat for their bodies. We feed round bales out in our pasture, and I also gave them some slices of small square bales in their stalls. I'm gonna go check on how the round bales are doing. Now that feeder is ready for the horses. I don't need to put a bale in here during the day. Tonight, I probably will need to put a bale in. I promise you that was not on purpose. Oh, don't laugh at me. Okay, so all the hay's pushed around the outside of that one. They're gonna mop that up. I almost would expect that to be licked clean by tonight. You try to balance it out so your horses are eating all of your material, but if you're not putting enough out, then the horses could start not having enough forage in their system, and that'll start creating health problems, which then creates expenses and problems for you. Now that food's taken care of, that takes us to our third and final one we want to make sure the horses have before we let them back out, and that is shelter. You may be thinking, well, that's a little counterintuitive. If they need shelter, shouldn't you just leave them in the barn and then they'll be good? So you want to make sure your horse has an ability to get out of bad weather. But if we kept our horses in the stable, believe it or not, it would actually be a lot harder for them to keep weight on. Poncho here, I actually have some videos. I'm going to link that top right corner. If you're on a mobile device, you should be able to see that pop up, and you should go check that out. We actually had to keep Poncho in for some leg issues. He refused to eat because he was so nervous about being inside the stable. Now you can give them some hay to quiet them down for a little bit, but once that hay's run out, they begin to get angry. They pace. Now, what happens when they get angry and they pace is they're actually losing weight. What I'm saying is not the case for every single horse. What I'm saying is the case for our horses here in northeastern Pennsylvania. If you have horses that are used to being kept in, and they're kept in all the time, that's great. That's fantastic. I'm glad that works for you. But in our stable, it simply does not. So we turn them out most of the time. And again, the only times we keep them in is pretty much if the weather permits it. Otherwise, they want to be turned out, and they definitely don't want to be left in. Like Declan here. He's always one of the first horses that's kicking the door, ready to get out of his stall. That's really all it takes when it comes to taking care of the horses, is you want to make sure that they have those three things. I'm going to put them back up on the screen in case you forgot. So you want food, water, and you want shelter. Your horse has those three things, and you're keeping track of everything that I mentioned, then they'll be healthy and happy during this winter and all the winters to come. All right, so that's going to be all of that. I'm going to do a couple more inspections on the horses. Then it's turnout time, and that'll be it for morning feeding. Alrighty guys, we're here for afternoon feeding, and it's time to put some round bales in. Now, as you see behind me, I'm going to be using one of the bigger tractors today. Normally I'd be using my tractor, but it's actually not on the stable right now. It's at our house. We were using it for some snow removal. So we have the big tractor here with the bale spikes on it. I think this is probably going to be more of like a one-off kind of thing, but I'll take advantage of it for now. So let's go get some round bales. All right, we're actually over where we have all of our extra round bales stored at. These are round bales that we haven't actually bought as of yet off of my Uncle Brian. So the only reason we're over here is because one of the bales we did buy ended up actually not being good. So what we did was we did basically an exchange where we took the bale that wasn't good, swapped it out for one of these bales here. So Brian got that bale for his cows, and then we get to get a bale over here that would be in better condition for our horses. So it's a win-win for everybody. I'll take this on over to the horse pasture. So the sun is going down really quick. I pretty much think I only got about maybe 10 minutes left of daylight. I have one more round bale that I have to grab, and I'm gonna throw that one in the middle pasture, and then thankfully that'll be it for today. I super hope you enjoyed this cold day in northeastern Pennsylvania. Temperature's going back down now. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.